Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. Today's video is going to be how I made my invitations for my wedding. These are really easy and are really adaptable to any different kind of theme or colour scheme. So if you want to see how my invitations, how I made them and how they came out, then just stay tuned. Alright, so I'm going to be showing you exactly how I made my invitations. Obviously you can change any of the colours, the designs, but the general gist of it is all here. So I'm going to walk you through exactly how I made mine, and I'll let you know along the way what you could change to make it a bit more like you. So I've got all my tools here in front of me. Yes, it's a lot. First one and most important one is a ruler. So we need to start with the ruler. Thank you, Ryan, I've just forgotten something. I've got starfish. So we've got a ruler. I have some wax. This is just like heat wax for sealing wax. You guys know what I meant. I'll show you how to use that a little bit later. I have some twine and some ribbon. I have a heat gun, a hot glue gun, sorry. I have a heat gun because we can't just do one normal tool. I have some decorative starfish, which are all in that box. I have some burlap ribbon. I have some paper, and this is just parchment paper that you can get from Officeworks. I've already pre-printed my little designs on here, but I'll talk to you about how you put all that together. I have some cardstock, very important. I also have a scoreboard. A 12 by 12 one is easiest, but you can get away without this, but it's going to make your life a lot easier, especially if you've got a couple of invitations to do. I've then got two different kinds of envelopes, and I have a trim board or a cutting board, whatever you want to call it. This is new for anyone that's been hanging around on my channel. You know that this is not something that I've used before. It is a recent addition to my lovely collection of paper trimmers. I will be doing a review on it really soon, but just for now, I'm going to show you this now because it was much easier to do this with this than my old one. But I will do a full review on it a little bit later. Okay, so when it comes to your cardstock, if you've been hanging around long enough, you know that my colours for my wedding are blue, teal, navy blue, teal, white and sand. So I picked my cardboard and paper, and I just spat on it, whoops. I picked my cardboard and my paper to match that theme. This is obviously one of those things that you can change. If your theme is purple, well then get purple cardboard, not blue cardboard. But this is just from Kaiser Craft. It is their Kaiser card in their premium, and it's the navy colour. Perfect for what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to move one off to the side. The way it kind of worked is that you need probably 1.5 bits of card per invitation. If you were really smart about it and you only had 2 inserts instead of 3, you probably could get away with just 1. But I found I had 35 invitations total because a lot of them doubled up. So you invited 2 people on 1 invitation. But I think I bought 50 bits of cardboard and I still had about 10 left over. So that, I figured that worked out about there. So to start off with, I'm going to cut off this little tab at the bottom, and then that's going to make it 12 by 12. So the thing I love about this new one, it's so much easier to use. So I'm just lining that up so that I can cut this in one go. Go. There we go, got that bit cut off. So the invitation folds in on itself. So to start off with, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you've already got your envelopes, because you need to make your invitation tall enough to be able to fit in your envelope. So in this case, these ones are from Kmart. These cost me $3.50 for a pack of 10, so obviously they went a really long way. Really good, really great value. They've got these in white as well, so, and I think they've also got them in silver. So try cheap places before you go looking at expensive places, especially if you want to save some money on your invitations. So these ones are 17.8 centimeters high. So I made my invitation 17.1 so that there was enough room to kind of fit the invitation in there. So all I'm going to do is just measure that out. So I'm going to get my head in a little bit here, I think. But so obviously when it comes to measuring, measure twice, cut once. And because it's already 30 centimeters wide, we're not going to have to worry about cutting that a second time. So you need one cut to get the main shape of your invitation. So now's the moment when you need to get in your scoreboard. As you can see, I've got these little dots on the top of mine, and this is in inches. This is one that's come from the States, so it is a little bit different, but all you need to do really is just make sure that it's going to fit in your envelope. So again, get your envelopes in, and just make sure that you've got, like, check how tall this is. So this one's 12.6 tall. So as long as the short, like the widest part here is 12.6 or smaller, it's going to fit. So the easiest way that I worked it out, and it did take a couple of bits of playing to actually get the right size. I did cheat a little. I had researched all of this on another video, so I will link that video down below, and I got my main measurements from there. But I did tweak it just a little bit to make sure it fit my envelope, because it didn't in the first instance. So I'm going to cut, oh, that's longer than 30. I never realised that. Did you know that? Oh, righto. Ryan did a lot of the cutting. I'm going to be deadly honest with you guys and say that Ryan actually did most of the cutting here. So I didn't do it, but he did. So that's okay. So as you can see along here, I've actually already got these marked out. So this first one, and I always worked from this side to this side because it made more sense. I don't know why it did, but it did. So this is at 8 inches, which, to put that into regular or Australian person talk, is about 20.3 centimeters. So that's where you're going to put your first score. Whenever you're using these scoreboards, just be careful. Don't push too hard because you will push through the cardboard. But that's why it's a little bit easy. You're not going to wobble all around the place. And then the second one is at 3.75 inches, which is 8.3 centimeters. So just follow that one down as well. You've got your general kind of shape there, and then you can actually fold it over and you'll get your little envelope or little pocket. So sometimes it doesn't quite look straight, so you just have to manipulate your cardboard a little bit to get that fold that you want. The scoreboard does allow for that, which is really good. And then I just use the back end of my scoring tool to actually get that nice crisp fold. And there you've got your basic shape. Really, really easy to do that. That's not very hard at all. I know it fits in my envelope because I can do this, and it fits really well. So that's your general gist. So the next thing we're going to do is add a little bit of pizzazz to this. So we're going to do that by just grabbing in our cutting mat. Words, they're escaping me. And what we're going to do is we're going to measure half of this one. So it's technically come out at 17, not 17.1, but that's fine. So half of 17 is 8.5. So I'm just going to mark the 8.5. I'm just going to turn this into a little point. So then I'm going to also mark 2 centimeters at the top and the bottom. And then using a craft knife, you can use a paper trimmer for this if you like, or scissors, depends on how you feel using a craft knife. I'm pretty comfortable with them, so I don't find this hard, but some people do. So just use your steel ruler to mark from the mark at the top to the mark in the middle. And then you've got your little point, so it just makes it look just a little bit fancier. I think that looks so cool. Other thing I did, I just rubbed off that little mark if it is still there. If you do it light with your pencil, you'll never notice it anyway. So that is the general basic shape with just a bit of zhuzhing. So the last thing we're going to actually do to the basic shape itself is we're going to add a little pocket on this side, so you can put a little bit of information, like other bits of information in here as well. So to do that, you want to get the bit of cardboard that you have set aside when you cut off the bottom. So this is the bottom of it. So I'm just going to move this part off to the side for now. You are going to need it a little bit just to make sure you get your measurements right. So before we put it off, that one there is, that side is 10 centimeters across. So you want to make sure that your little pocket here is at least 10 to be able to sit on there, and then you need to add about 1 centimetre on each side to actually fold in to be able to stick to the bottom. I'm explaining that really badly, but it'll make sense in a minute. So start off by getting that first one right. So you need your 10 centimetres. I gave it just a little bit less so that I made sure it was going to fit. So just mark it at 9.9. I'm going to do it at the bottom instead of at the top. So mark it at 9.9. And then what you need to do is add 1 centimetre on each side to be able to flip in underneath. So that makes it 11.9. So that's where we're going to cut. And then you need to do the same thing with how high you want it. Now mine, I put them at 9 centimetres high, so it was just a little bit less than halfway, but you can do as much as you like. So I'm going to do 9, which becomes 10 with my extra centimetre on the top. So then you've got your little square, so you're going to bring your paper, your scoreboard. I don't know what is wrong with my mind at the moment. Bring your scoreboard back in. Because I don't want to work in inches, I want to work in centimetres, I'm just going to have my steel rule here so that I've got that right. So you need to mark as close to 1 centimetre as you can on both edges. So you just do as close as you can. If you're a little bit off, because we've already allowed that extra centimetre, that extra millimetre, it's not going to cause a big issue, so don't stress about it. Then you just need to run your score down that line. Again, don't push too hard because you will cut through. And then you need to fold it around and do the same thing with the other one. So this is at the bottom. But you only have to do this on one, not both. So now you've got 3 edges scored and 1 edge not. So then you can just fold this up. Just do it loosely for now. We're going to fix up everything else after. And then what I like to do is just make sure that it is going to fit. So just put it on there, leave it there. Now a couple of them became too small, some of them were a bit bigger. It's always going to happen when you make things by hand. This fits just a little bit small, but I'm actually really okay with that. I'd rather them be too small than too big. So that was what I was happy to do. So then to make it sit, I'm going to throw my scissors around. What you're going to do is grab your scissors in, and you're going to cut this in a bit of a funny way. So sit your scissors at the bottom, so if you cut straight up, it's going to cut that diagonally. So cut straight until you get to the fold where they join, and then once they get there, just curve it up a little bit so that it looks like that, and that way when it folds in, it's not going to sit over each other. And then do the same thing on the other side. I find it easy to fold this way and do it, but you can do it the other way if you like. And then roll it around. And then when I fold this up, you can see they don't actually sit on each other, and they'll actually sit flat. I love these little pockets. So then just to zhuzh it up, just to make it look a little bit fancier, we're going to add that little dip in here as well. So all I'm going to do is just measure half of my 9.9, which, because I don't really mind so much, I'm just going to make that at the 5. I've just given it a bit either side. And then I'm just going to drop that down 1 centimetre instead of 2. Just making my little mark there. This is going to be on the inside too, so don't worry too much if you do cut that or make that mark a little bit deep or a little bit hard. You knew what I meant. So grab your craft knife back in again. And then just the other thing that you can do once you've got that done, just give this corner a bit of a cut down as well. That way it's not going to poke up at you. There you go. And there you've got your little pocket, which is going to sit in here. So you can stick it on any way you like. You can use glue if you like. You can use sticky tape if you like. You can use double-sided tape. You guys know what I'm going for. I'm going to my I still don't know how to say that word. My glue dots. And I adore them. So we're just going to put a bunch of glue on those little tabs. You notice I'm doing it on my mat so I don't make a mess on my desk. I've learned. And then you're just going to stick that on. I like to get the bottom lined up first and then stick the sides down because it sits a bit easier that way. And there we go. There's our little pocket and our entire invitation, outside at least, done. So it's not complicated at all. It's actually really, really simple. But the fun part is now you get to zhuzh this up to any way you like. If you didn't like these sort of diagonal cuts, you could obviously do wavy cuts. Anything you want to do to kind of personalize it your way is really, really simple for you to do. So what we've done, Ryan and I, what we've done ahead of time is we've actually already done our little invitation bits up. So this is the actual invitation itself, like the actual bit. So these are just done up on Photoshop and printed out on this parchment paper from Officeworks. Any kind of paper is fine. Like I said before, if your theme is purple and say silver, you could do purple cardboard with a silver insert. It's really up to you. You could do it with vellum if you wanted. The possibilities are endless. And that's the best thing about a simple invitation is you can really kind of give it your own personal touch by just changing a few little bits and pieces. So we'll start off by putting that part in. Spitting everywhere tonight. What is going on? So just going to glue this in. Again, you can use any kind of glue you like, but I like my glue dots. I'm just making that sit as close to the middle as I can. I'm not worrying too much about it. Obviously, the more perfect you want to make them, that's completely up to you. Obviously, the design in here is also completely up to you. You don't have to do it as a square. You could do it with those wavy edges. You could cut it with your Cricut if you wanted to. I just really wanted something kind of simple, which is why we went with just the square with the box around it. But completely up to you how you do it. So to give this a little bit of decoration in here and to bring it into my theme a bit more, what I did is I got some of this burlap ribbon from Spotlight. You can get any kind of ribbon you like, and that's sort of what I would suggest if you are going to do this yourself. Feel free to get any kind of ribbon you like. You could use like proper decorative ribbon, you could use organza, you could use a bit of tulle. It really comes down to whatever you sort of want to do. Because it's a beach theme, I sort of wanted to stay with those natural kind of colours, which is what this is. So I'm just cutting that to be about the right size, not being too precise with it because that kind of defeats the purpose of the natural feel. So I'm just making it as wide, just cutting off little bits at a time. There we go. And then with this particular one, because it's so wide, I just cut mine in half, or as close to half as I could make it. I'm just doing this by sight, just using the weave of the burlap ribbon to kind of use it. And then I just cut off this little tassel part because I didn't like it. Making a big old mess in the meantime. And then all I did was I just stuck this down using glue tape. You could use hot glue. We're going to get the hot glue gun out in a second anyway, so you could use that at the same time. I'm just going to put my lid on my craft knife so I don't cut the crap out of my hand. But glue tape worked fine for this. It didn't damage anything and it was still repositionable to a certain extent. Oh, of course I ran out right at this moment. It's alright. I have another one. So I'm just smothering that with glue. You don't have to smother it, but it works better that way. So just positioning that in, just sticking it down. Still got a bit of give even before it's stuck down, so that's good. And then just giving that a bit of a rub. And then while, not that it needs to set, because it certainly doesn't, but just I'm going to turn my glue gun on and I'll be back to show you the next bit in just a sec. Alright, so once your glue gun is all heated up, mine's just dribbling a little bit, that's how I know it's actually hot. So I'm just going to grab myself some scrap paper just to protect everything. I always just give it a little bit of a push just to make sure it's working. You don't need very much hot glue, so don't stress out too much about that. So what I've done is I bought a bunch of starfish off eBay. I bought like 200 of them, and in my 200 I probably had about 80 that actually were usable. So these ones are all my rejects, so I do apologize that you guys are getting my rejects. But all I'm going to do is just stick these down on the invitation to look kind of cool. On most of the invitations I used a big one and a small one on the inside, and then we used a big one on the outside, which I'll show you afterwards. But all you do, grab your glue gun, a little bit of glue on here, and just stick it down. Most people who have received their invitations, because everybody who got an invitation has received theirs, said that the ones on the inside at least didn't break too much. So even if you do use really delicate little items, you don't have to stress too much about them breaking. Like, they're pretty well protected inside the little pocket here. But you could obviously change this up. You could use anything you like. That's just not sticking down. Oh, that's fine. You could use anything you like in here. If you wanted to use like a little gold heart maybe, or a planner charm or something along those lines, you obviously could. You could use buttons, you could use flowers, you could use leaves. The list goes on and on. It's very much whatever your theme is, so just keep that in mind. You could also, if you wanted to, instead of using like ribbon and sticking stuff down like this, you could put stamps all along the top. It's really completely up to you when it comes to that, and I did see a lot of really cute ones with like little cages and little birds. You can use die cuts up here as well. Oh, the ideas. But it's really whatever comes down to your theme. So that's all stuck down now. I'm going to leave my hot glue gun on because I am going to use it again in a minute. So to finish off the inside, we've got 3 little cards which are going to sit on the inside here. To give them a little bit more reinforcement though, we are going to cut a backing card from the cardboard for each of them. So the easiest way to do that, start off with your piece of cardboard that you had left over. Check and see if 2 of these maybe fit in, which neither of these do. I don't think. Oh, yes, they do. There we go. So you can either do this one way or the other. You can either cut the cardboard first and then stick these on the cardboard, or you can make the card fit. You get what I mean. Stick these on the big bit first and cut them out, or you can make sure they're all the same size. Obviously, if you make sure they're all the same size, it's going to sit in your little pocket a little bit nicer. So we're going to do that. So we're going to grab our ruler again. We know this little thing here is 9 point. It actually came down to 9 point something else. Came down to 9.6. So we're going to make this 9.5 so that they fit in nicely. So we'll get that 9.5. I will put all the measurements for exactly what I did. Obviously, I'm doing this a lot faster than I was doing mine, and I'm doing them all like singularly, whereas before we cut them all up and we did each step in a bulk. So I'm doing this a little bit differently the way I did it the first time. So I'll put all the measurements for what it actually was, including where I did all my scores, just so that you guys have the exact right sizing, at least to what I did in the first place, as opposed to what I'm doing for you now. I'm hoping that's okay. I probably could have been a little bit more organized with this video. I'm happy to admit that. So we'll cut this one first. We'll just cut that out. So there's our first bit at least, which is then going to have this sitting on it. The other one, we'll make sure that's 9.5 as well, and then we'll cut it so that it sits the same height, or the right height. And this one is 11 centimeters high. So I'm going to make this 12. I think this one was 14 if I remember right. No, 13 and a half. So we'll make this one 12, because you want to stagger them. You want to make sure they sit not all the same height, but just staggered down. You'll get the effect. So we've got 2 of the cards, and you can see they're the exact same width, which is good. This is the part where you have to go and get yourself another bit of cardboard. And like I said, that's why you sort of need that extra bit. If you were only doing 2 inserts instead of 3, then you wouldn't need that last bit. But because we are, we're just going to cut that really, really quickly. got our 3 little cards. That's definitely not right. Must be 15. Anyway, I'll fix it up in a second. I'll show you an easy way to make sure that works. So then all you have to do is just stick these onto your little cards. So again, grab your glue tape. It's just a really easy stick. Just make them as close to in the middle as you can, but don't stress about it. The effect still looks great even if it's not quite centered. So the size differential between these two, I think, is only a centimetre. I think. No, it's 2. So I just want to make sure, see how big this is. We'll just cut off that extra bit. So I think that's 2.5. I'm just going to cut off 0.5 centimetre off the top. Don't quite know what I've done wrong there, guys, but it doesn't quite look as perfect as it did when I did it before. Oh, that's close. Anyway, we're not aiming for perfection. That was something that took me a really long time to understand with my invitations, but no one's getting 2. So no one sees if one maybe looks a little bit more perfect than the other one. Nobody sees if one has a better star or has a better, that looks slightly nicer. No one's going to see the difference. So don't put them up in your head to make sure they're all exactly the same. But anyway, we got our little cards and they all sit in here. Please fit, or then I look like a complete idiot. Sometimes they just take a little bit of, there we go, manoeuvring to get them to sit behind the card. Once you've got the first one in, the other ones tend to slide in pretty easily. So you've got 1, 2, and 3. If you did do what I did and you didn't quite make it exactly right, you can just give that a little bit of a wiggle to make it sit 1, 2, 3, and it looks really cool. And then the other thing we chucked in here was we chucked in just an envelope. This is actually from Target. These were $5 for 25 envelopes. All we did was make sure that the envelope would fit whatever card we needed returned. So in this case, we need the music card and the RSVP card returned. So we just made sure that they fit in the envelope, which they did. That was really simple. So we'll put those back in. And then to sort of hide, I guess, the envelope, because I don't want it sticking out or anything, we just slid it in behind the RSVP. And that way you've just made it that little bit easier for those people to send their invitations back. So this is what it looks like when it is finished. But I'm not finished. I have 2 more little bits to kind of show you to finish it off a little bit. The inside at least is done. I love this. I think it looks fantastic. The feedback I've got from people who got invitations said they think it's fantastic, which is even better. And obviously all completely personable. You can choose 2 cards in here. You can use 4 cards in here. And you can just make them whatever size you like. And if you just use Photoshop or Word, or even if you're really uncomfortable with those kind of things, places like Vistaprint, places like Officeworks will print and cut these to the right size for you. Might just be a little bit of a cost, but just play with it. Just print some stuff on scrap paper yourself, get the sizes right, get how it sits right. It's actually really easy once you get going. So to shut this up, or to keep it from opening up or anything like that, I want to put like a belly band around it, and I'm going to decorate that. So what I did is I grabbed this natural twine and ribbon pack. This is from Kmart. I think it was $3. And you get 6 different sort of packs, or I'm going to stutter over my words, designs of twine. I used this one. I thought this looked really, really cool and gave me the effect I wanted of it being like a nautical rope, or lots of bits of rope all stuck together. So there's actually one bit and it just has got all the individual strands stuck together. So all you have to do is just grab as much as you need to go round your card. Depending on if you want this to be a really strong, or like really hold it in place, or if you just want it to be a bit more of a relaxed band, that's completely up to you. I liked mine being a little bit tighter, so I measured out how much I needed for that. Obviously you can do an actual measurement, and I will measure this for you in just a sec so you know how big this was. But because we did have a little bit of variation with each of our invitations, I like to go around and make sure that they were tight before I actually glued it down. So this is 25.5 centimeters long. That's going to get right around your outside of your card, plus give you a little bit of room to glue. So all I did, I'd hold it in place where I wanted it, just like that. Hold my fingernail down where the sort of not end bit, where the double up bit went. Crossover, that was the word I wanted. Grab your hot glue gun. Just a dab of hot glue, not too much. Just put it there. Always got little stringies with hot glue. And then just fold that in on itself. If you notice, that whole time my thumb was actually in the same spot. And then just press them together. Your fingers are going to end up just being a little bit sticky through this, but it's not. I actually kind of like the feeling of hot glue when it's not hot. So we've got our little band. She's stuck. It's not very hard to do. That's actually really simple to do. And then all this does is it just slides over the top. I always gave it, because I have done them tight, you do have to bend your card a little bit to get them in, but it does sit very nicely once it's done. In case when you're just like me and you've done it wrong, which now it gives it a bit more of a like that. Let's not do that. Let's do that again, shall we? Because this ribbon is cheap, I don't mind making boo-boos with it. Let's try that one more time. That just shows you how easy and quick they are to make. They're so simple. Still will need to bend it a little bit just to get it over. It should sit a bit flatter. There we go. That's better. Probably can't tell, but it does feel a bit better in your hand. So now you've got your little belly band. You can obviously move that around a little bit to have that right over the edge, which is what I did. And then all I did was I grabbed one of my starfish, and I'm just going to grab this one. Again, my actual invitation ones weren't broken, so I do apologise. Just a little dab of glue on the back of the starfish. And I used it to cover up where I'd stuck them together. So you just push that down on there. Hold it down for a second until it's stuck, which does not take very long. That just slides down. I always put them so they sat right on the edge there. Again, you could use anything you like there. You don't have to use the starfish. They did get a little, these are very, very breakable, as you can tell by the fact that so many of them have already broken. But a lot of people said they got there mostly in one piece, but I still think it looks even great even when it is broken. But you can use anything you like. You could use a flower, you could use a bit of cardboard. I did think about for a while having a stamp, like a starfish stamp that I'd cut out, or a starfish drawing or something that I'd cut out and stuck that on there on the belly band the same way. But I did end up having a few of those, so I went with that instead. So now that we've got the beautiful invitation done, we just need to organise how we're going to send it to people. Like I said, I got these envelopes from Kmart. They were $3.50 for 10. Really, really great value in my opinion. And I did make sure the whole way along that the invitations were going to fit in here. So I'm just going to get rid of all the little bits and pieces. But when I do this, you'll see that they're going to fit in absolutely perfectly. So I'm obviously not going to do the name on the front. We printed them out on Ryan's Fancy Printer, which is the same way we printed the inserts and stuff. But just for the purposes of this, I'm not going to worry about it. You could handwrite it if you like, or you could do it on the computer. But just to show you how I sealed these up. So I used glue to start with because I wanted to make sure it was absolutely stuck down and not going to open in transit. But then to make it look like it was a bit fancy, I actually went and got myself some wax seals. I love these. These are so much fun. So the wax that I got is J. Hebrin wax. I bought this from Milligram in Melbourne. I bought it online. You can buy it online and it's so, so easy. I will link it down below so you can find it. They've got it in not hundreds, but lots and lots and lots of different colours. So you can match it to whatever you've got. I do also have a silver here, which is gorgeous. I got that from Eckersley's, and I also have a red, which came with my kit. Love playing with these wax seals. The wax seal, like the actual seal itself, is from Eckersley's. It's a little heart. You can get them made like personalized if you wanted to go to that extreme. I thought the heart on its own was really cute. Kind of adds a little bit of non-beach to mine. I reckon starfish would have looked great, but because I've kind of gone with that the whole way along, it does become overpowering at some point. So the thing I've learnt when doing this, number one, do not use a candle because it takes forever. If you do have one that has one of these wicks, they are good to an extent, but once you get to sort of this point, they really are useless. The easiest way I found to do this is to use one of these little heat guns. Really easy to use. You just hold it down, it heats up like that, and you just hold it and the wax will drip off. When it does get to this, when it's this size, obviously you don't need to worry about this next step, but because I've only got a little bit left, I am using just a set of pliers just to hold my wax so that I don't burn my hand. And then all it is just holding this here, heating it up, and letting it drip onto where you like. This can be messy. This doesn't always come out perfect, but the effect is fantastic. So I'm just going to hold this here and let the wax melt. You can spin this around to get it to give you more of the shape you want. If you want to pull it up or pull it down. And once you've got a fair amount of wax there and it's in the shape you like, stop right. There we go. I just let that drip until it's finished because it does take a little bit to cool down. You don't want to leave a mess everywhere. Once that's done, get your little wax seal and then just push it down into the hot wax. Give it a little bit of pressure and then let go gently and just leave it for probably about a minute. I find a minute is the safest time. You don't have to leave it that long, but I just find that's where I get the best results, you get the best impression. Don't forget to always put a little bit more wax than you think. I did like 3 or 4 that did not have enough wax at all, and they just looked really poxy. The really good thing is with this wax especially, it's got a bit of give to it. You can actually pick it off and put it back, like redo the seal again, and it's not going to damage your card. So just keep that in mind if you do want to do that. If you do make a mistake, just put a little bit more wax on it, put your stamp back on, you'll be fine. Alright, so that's been about a minute. You can sort of touch along around the outside to see how much this is set if you like. I don't like to do it because it does then leave your fingerprint mark in the wax. Basically, I just give it a bit of a shake, which loosens it up. And then give it a bit of a pull. And you've got your absolutely gorgeous seal right there. I don't care who you are, when that comes in the mail, it makes you smile. It's so cool. And the really cool thing is, if you want to tell people that it's coming, they can actually save that. You don't actually have to break it to open it because it's actually been glued with the glue dots. They can actually peel from here and the seal won't break. But it is really, really such just a cute little way to add a bit more. If you want to see a bit more information about wax seals and things that I've learnt while I've been playing with this process, let me know and I can do a whole video on it because it is a lot of fun. It's not really planning related, I guess, but it is crafty and I love the crafty stuff. So that is my invitation. Obviously it's now in this envelope, so I can't pull it out to show you. I'm going to show you how you can open this. So to open this up without breaking the seal, I'm going to try really hard not to break it, so I'm going to use my craft knife here. Obviously when someone's ripping into this, they're probably not going to be as gentle, but just to show you that you can. I think I've actually cut the card there, the paper there, but so you just give it a little bit of a pry up. The wax itself isn't actually keeping this envelope closed, so it's not like this is the be all and end all. There we go. I did cut it a little bit, but it's come up okay. So it's really just tucked right on the edge there, so it's not really doing anything. But it sure does look cool. So when you pull it out, you've obviously got your card. Lift that up, and then da-da. Oh, is it is it okay that I love my invitations this much? Because I adore these. I think these came out so beautifully. I'm actually really proud of them. There are very few things that I create that I want to put in and put like up on the wall. This is one of them. I think it's beautiful and I love it. Like I said at the start, this can really be adapted to any theme you've got going. Obviously with mine, I'm the beach with the navy, so I've used it my way, but if you wanted to use it any way you like, you really can. Such a simple way to make your invitations. It's not too expensive. I'm going to admit I went a little bit expensive on some of the things, but that said, my card was from Kaisercraft, that's not expensive. My paper was from Officeworks, that's not too bad. The envelopes in both cases are from Kmart and Target. Target, yep. So cheap on those. The wax was a little bit expensive. The starfish were from eBay, so they weren't very expensive at all. I will link all of my items down below. And the string from Kmart wasn't expensive either, and neither was the burlap on the inside. So it depends on how much time and effort you want to put into your invitations. If you want to make them yourself, this is a really easy way to do it. I only had, like I said, less than 50 invitations to make. So perhaps I got away easy. If you do have a lot, maybe get someone to help. Ryan did help me do these. He cut most of them and scored a lot of them, and I just did the decorating. So that's he doesn't like you doing paper stuff. He doesn't think he has a crafty bone in his body. I've proven that he has, and he managed to do these, so I'm sure your husband, significant other, whatever it might be, I'm sure he can help a little bit with these as well. It is really, really very, very simple. So that is it for today's video showing you my invitations. If you do have any questions about them and how I did them, please let me know. I will link the video that I got the inspiration for these from down below as well. I want to say a big thank you to her, not that she's ever going to watch this video, but big thank you to her for putting this idea out there because it was really, really helpful. Her instructions were a lot clearer than mine, so go and watch hers because she gave it much, much, much clearer instruction than I think I did. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to be subscribed to my channel. Let me know down below if you want any more updates on the wedding and how that's going, because I can do that for you as well. Other than that, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic weekend, and I will see you for decoration on Monday. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye!